Let's go out to Steve Sedgwick now. London markets, they are volatile, aren't they? And have they settled down?
Yes, it has settled down now, Nigel. We've settled down. We're up around about 94 points. But I think apart from really the debris from this expiry, the story of the day will be the day that volumes went absolutely ballistic on the London market. There's a multitude of opportunities out there for a lot of people this morning. A lot of people did make money. But as one of the senior officials at Life said to me today, really, this is the one period of the month when Mrs Miggins does not want to be trading in this market.
All right. Fair enough. Mrs Higgins, yes. The ubiquitous Mrs Higgins. She watches us, you know, as well. Thank you for that.
Cheers,
Steve. Let's go out to Silvia Wadhwa in Frankfurt as well. A bit less volatile in Frankfurt, but nevertheless still confusing.
Yes, I think this market is probably settling down towards its settlement, towards its settlement prices. You know, we've talked about this before, triple witching. So the auto sector is one of the few sectors that still looks relatively shipshape. And I think as far as the more fundamental analysis is concerned, is one of the sectors where economists, where analysts, where corporate analysts are saying maybe that's a stock you can buy back into, or these are stocks you can buy back into.
All right, Shellie, Silvia rather. Thank you very much. Enjoy for joining us. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Silvia Wadhwa there in Frankfurt, because we're now going to Shellie in Paris. Shellie, tell us what's happening on the market there.
Oh, well, we're kind of getting whacked by the triple witching and double witching and closing of contracts, even though there are none that actually happen here. But we're in globalization, we're seeing all that shift affecting the CAC 40 as well. And Sodexo, after getting trashed yesterday, 30% drop in its share price. Standard & Poor putting it on a negative ratings watch. Not a surprise. Nigel,
Shellie,
good weekend.
And you as well. Thank you very much. Shellie Karabell, our Paris Bureau Chief, looking at the Paris market. Well, after the break, we're going to have a world news update. And are you getting a bit tired of equity investing and looking for an alternative? And how about football memorabilia? We'll be getting a preview of some of the lots up for auction at Christie's UK after the break. And indeed, I shall be touching some of those mementos from way back in football history. Exciting. More of that later on as well when we get to it. Anyway, let's get you up to date with the latest world news headlines before we look at football memorabilia. And President Bush has warned that Washington will act alone unless the UN Security Council finds a tougher response requiring Iraq to disarm. Mr. Bush said that the UN must hold the Iraqi regime to account or the US will do so. And that's the latest world news headlines. Now, it can hardly have been a surprise to you that equities are going down. In fact, most of the equity markets in Europe are pretty close to 5-year lows in some cases. And therefore, not surprisingly, investors are looking for alternative asset classes and alternative ways to invest. Commodities and bonds, well, they're safe havens. But how about investing in memorabilia? Well, next Tuesday, Christie's is putting up over 300 football items for auction, including the 1943 Coppa Italia, which is sitting on my desk even as we speak, several of Pele's legendary shirts, and all sorts of other goodies as well, including, I think, a rather fetching pair of football boots. Not surprisingly, football history could prove to be a winning investment, or could it? Joining me now from Christie's is David Convery. How much? It's a bit gimmicky, really, isn't it? This sort of thing. I mean, it's all very nice to think, yes, I'd like to have the Coppa Italia or I think David Beckham's boots there. But is it really a substantial investment, or is it just for enthusiasts?
Well, no. I mean, I think investment-wise, the sale started in '89. And things have been turning up again for sale, and making more money this time. The market's now come to London, bigger marketplace, and we're seeing an upturn certainly in the prices at the moment anyway.
All right. So, I mean, are you getting any of the things that you've already auctioned before coming back?
One or two things, and probably say half a dozen things over the last couple of years.
And wherefore, how much have they gone up?
Well, roughly sort of 5-10%, depending on the item or who was awarded to, that sort of thing. But at the moment, yeah, Bobby Moore's last ever shirt he wore in England.
Bobby Moore's,
English football,
right.
Yeah.
This is Bobby Moore's a hero. I saw the '66 World Cup. I am that old. Yeah. I was very young at the time. So this Bobby Moore was the final shirt that he actually wore. I just wonder, though, whether with this kind of investment, whether in a sense the further back it is, the value depreciates as well a little bit.
Not really, no. I mean, this is basically down to, obviously the shirt's the black and red shirt, but it's what it means to not only to obviously Fulham or England supporters that this, before he went to America, this was his last ever shirt that he wore in English football.
Then what you got there, we've got this football. Now this is a really ancient one. Now it says this ball was used at the Oval London in the final for the English Cup, March the 24th, 1888. And Albion defeated Preston North End because they were then Premier teams.
Exactly.
In those
Yes,
days.
they were, of course.
Yeah. What kind of value would you put on a thing like
Well,
this?
that's 12 to 18,000, but that's the ball.
this, for a ball?
That's the ball they actually used in the match. So this was obviously afterwards the captain was given the ball. He then presented it to this individual, and as it was at the time, the ball gilded, and then obviously inscribed as the ball that was used. So those days it wasn't a ball being chucked in every 2 minutes when one went out for a shy or a throw in. So that's the actual ball that played that
And also
match.
an old leather ball that's very heavy when wet and it hits you in the face.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
and it rattles. Why is that?
That's just the pigskin inside is obviously perished, so that's just sort of the interior. So
so that's
just inside, yeah.
jumbled
So
up pigskin.
basically, yes. Pelly's world record at the moment is 160,000 for his World Cup shirt from 1970, which we sold this year. Coppa Italia, 35 to 45,000 for that. So.
45,000 for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Beckham's boots.
But actually, I mean, pardon me for asking you a daft question, but if it's a cup for a competition, how come it's coming up for auction? Surely it just sits in respective clubs' display stands.
Well, there's a story behind it. Basically, 1943, the club played for the Coppa Italia, and Torino won it. It wasn't played for again until 1958, but in between time, the team who won it unfortunately died in a plane crash, so decided that they would produce a new cup for the Coppa Italia, and the Torino kept the old cup as a souvenir, and that's been moved on to one.
So
of the
who are the
biggest-
kind of people who are buying these? I mean, they're not. This is presumably just this is investment for fun rather than serious investment for your pension.
Basically, yeah. This will probably be I'd imagine a museum piece rather than purely for investment. You'll probably end up back in Italy.
Are those David Beckham's boots?
Those Beckham's boots, they're obviously pre-Brooklyn and pre-Romeo now, so these are sort of 97-98 season, and one of the sort of first Adidas Predator boots that he wore, these sort of new fancy boots.
And how much would that go for?
Well, these are at the moment probably between sort of £1,000 and £2,000, but that's probably is a good sort of point of an investment. England captain now, he's still got a good few seasons left to play football, so these things could probably go up and up as time goes on.
All right, okay. Well, we shall wait and see what happens. But certainly, you're seeing no signs of deflation in asset prices in
Not at the
football
moment, no.
memorabilia. All right, David, thank you very much for joining us. So David Convery there with some interesting bits of football memorabilia. Welcome back to Power Lunch. It's 13:30 Central European Time. I'm Nigel Roberts. And I have to actually let you in on a secret now, the viewers at home, because after that last item when we had lots of sports memorabilia, in the break, a lot of ladies on our production team wanted to touch David Beckham's boots, and they were passed round. It's like a kind of holy relic. And Daniel Mann did get very excited by them. He was actually dribbling, weren't you, at the sight of you actually got to touch David's left foot.
Yes, I'm just a little bit concerned about the camera at the end of the newsroom, though.
You should
Nigel,
be, Dan.
What we've been told.
Anyway, do you want to sort of keep us up to date, though, about what's happening on the market? 'Cause
all
it'll
above
turn round
board
again.
and decent. You know me, Mr. Roberts, never naughty, unlike Kevin, our director. 16 of the leading stock markets in front of us, and we are largely moving higher after a pretty difficult week for investors.
I see. Let's get out now to the US market. These are the futures, which suggest on those figures we're going to get a stronger open. Let's go and join Pat Bolland. Now, I suppose Qualcomm, unusually a tech company, being quite positive. That might help sentiment.
Yeah, we have triple witching, and on the back of the kind of pop that you guys saw, or at least the temporary pop that you guys saw on triple witching, maybe we'll get a positive move as well. Maybe high tech might do it for us today. Never know, Nigel. Have a great weekend, though.
All right, and you as well. Let's hope a better week next week. All right, that's it for this edition of Power Lunch. Tune in same time on Monday. Bye-bye.
I'm Emma Crosby. Coming up on European Market Rapid, the run-up to the German federal elections will bring you live coverage from Berlin. And out of the corporate world, results from the advertising giant Havas.